Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Woodmere Estate Revival. Today I wanted to cover the topic that we get a lot of questions about, and that's proper technique for backwashing and rinsing a sand filter. So I wanted to cover that in detail, show you how our Hayward control panel works, the setup in the pool house, and just cover the basics of backwashing and rinsing a sand filter. So let's get to it. So Amber and I just got done vacuuming our pool. And we did it by hand today, using a pole and then a simple hand vac there. Thanks, Amber. Like Vanna White. One thing that's new that we tried is a leaf canister. I don't know where you've been my whole life. One of our viewers actually said, hey, you should get a leaf canister. And I said, a what? So even though we've had a pool for a few years, I didn't know the joys of having a leaf canister. So this thing has a little basket in it, which catches all the leaves. And all that stuff doesn't go straight to the basket in your pump and then ultimately into the sand filter. We got a model from Hayward. We just got done dumping all that junk out and rinsing everything off. This is the new and improved pool house here. If you guys have been following our channel, you haven't seen this before. Super excited to have this because the old one, as you remember, was super low and squatty. So what we're doing is adding a little water to the pool, because when you backwash, you're gonna drain a bunch of water out of the pool by backwashing and rinsing your filter. So I went ahead and got the hose out and adding some water. Now we've got an automatic fill system, but I just haven't gotten it hooked back up yet since we redid the pool house. That's what this sensor wire is for, hanging out. So we're gonna get that hooked back up, and that actually takes water out of the house water system. You can see the 3/4 inch water line there, and then there's a solenoid valve, and that thing's electrically activated by our Jandy water fill system. And I just got to get this thing rewired to the control panel. We had to rewire everything in here because everything used to be down close to the floor, again because super low and squatty pool house, but all that is a thing of the past, thankfully. All right, now back to the task at hand. This is our 36-inch Hayward sand filter, and it's a monster. And as you remember, the old pool house roof just sat right above the gauge. We actually had to cut a hole in the pool house roof to fill it with Zia sand the first time we filled it up. So that was super annoying, but again, much improved. And this is our control valve. And just about all control valves out there are going to have similar features. This one has probably more than some. It's got a lot of different options, but most of them are going to have filter and backwash and rinse. This one's also got a waste feature and a circulate feature. But the ones we're going to focus on today are filtration. That's what it's in today. And that brings the water in through the sand filter, through the sand, and then out into the pool. And what you do when you backwash is you're actually reversing the course of the water, and you're forcing the water up through the sand, which picks up all the dirt and the grime and everything that's been captured by your sand filter, and then takes it out your waste line. Now this pool house originally had a waste pit down there, and the issue is when we had our gas line put in, the guy running the equipment just chopped a big hole right through the waste line, and we found out that the hard way, unfortunately, when our pool house flooded the first time we tried to backwash through the waste pit. So we actually hard plumbed a waste line, and that's what this is right here. And that comes out of the filter valve and then down and goes through the wall. On the other side of the wall, this is our future half bath. On the other side of the wall, it comes out, goes down into the concrete floor there. And then that actually hooks up into this catch basin. You can see the end of the pipe right there. So that goes into that catch basin. And unfortunately, you can see some of our pool paint in there too, because stinking thing's peeling after 3 years. But anyway, so that made it much easier. We used to have to roll out a 2-inch discharge hose, and Amber would have to hold it and try to keep it from spraying her in the face and everything else. It was super annoying. So she was able to take a break now while I'm backwashing and rinsing the filter. She's chilling out under the umbrella. She paid her dues though. All right, so Hayward control panel. This is the Pro Logic model. and we've been pretty happy with this. It's packed with features, some of them we don't even use yet. And we have it set up on timers, and we have set up our Hayward heater is on that too. And everything's automatic. We really don't have to do a whole lot to maintain circulation, filtration, heating, and all that sort of stuff. And we've got 2 pumps in here. This is our main filter pump. It's a big variable speed unit from Hayward again. And then we've got a smaller pump here, and this is a single speed pump that goes to our water feature. This line right here goes out and goes to our deck jets. So we got 2 pumps in here, and this control panel controls both of them. Also controls this electric valve, which regulates the deck jets, how much water goes to the deck jets, how much goes back into circulation. You can see the salt cell, and then we've got obviously quite a few valves over here. We've got all of our returns and all of our suction lines on a valve, so we can regulate all of them independently. And then we've also got some 3-way valves, which allow us to control both on the suction side and on the discharge side, so that we can regulate how much goes to floor returns versus wall returns, how much comes from the main drain versus the 2 skimmers. So all that stuff can be regulated through these valves. I've actually got an electric valve actuator that I'm going to put on this 3-way valve right here. And what that'll do is when the heater kicks on, it'll put 100% of the water coming back into the floor return pipe, so that heated water goes to the bottom of the pool and then kind of circulates up through. That'll do a better job heating the deep diving well and the deeper parts of the shallow end as well. So pretty cool system, and we worked long and hard to get this thing put together. Now let's go ahead and talk about backwashing. We just finished washing the pool, or suctioning. We just finished vacuuming the pool, as I said, and right now it's still in filtration. And first thing I did was clean out the basket in a main pump here. So I cleaned that out, got rid of all the leaves, paint chunks, various stuff, and kind of cleaned that thing out. And now we're ready to backwash. So we're going to switch it over to backwash. So now our little pointer is right at the backwash there. And then typically you're going to backwash for at least a couple minutes. It depends on how dirty your filter is. It may not need that long, but typically I backwash for at least a couple minutes. And it's actually got a little sight glass. That's one of the things I like about this valve. It's got a little sight glass on the back there, and you'll see when we start backwashing, the dirty water will be in there, and then it'll clear up. And once it clears up, you can be pretty sure that the backwash is complete, and you can go ahead and shut everything down and then switch to rinse. All right, so let me go ahead and switch the control panel back on here. We're going to switch it back on to filter. Open our valve. We've got water flowing. When I take this filter basket out, I shut this thing in so that I don't lose my prime. That's one of the great things about having all the valves. So you can shut it in so you don't lose all your water down into the pool. So we're backwashing now, and there you can see some of the dirt and stuff going through the sight glass there. And you can also check the water here, and it still looks pretty nasty. Still a lot of dirt coming out there. I love this setup though, so much easier. Check the condition of the water. One of us doesn't have to hold the hose. It's a one-person job now. This thing's fully primed, no air in it now. But look at that sight glass. That thing is nasty. Absolutely nasty. So we're waiting for that to clear up. And then once it clears up, we can go ahead and switch over to the rinse. And then we'll rinse it again for another minute and a half. Make sure it's good and clean. The worst thing in the world is vacuuming your pool, and then you come back and you flip the pumps on, and you look out of your return jets here, and you got this plume of dirty water shooting back into your pool. You're like, no! So I'd rather send a little more water into the catch basin here and be assured that everything's good and clean than to shut it off prematurely and then put dirt back into the pool after I just finished vacuuming for half an hour. All right, so we're starting to clear up. Water's definitely looking clearer there. And definitely looking clearer here. This is the second time that we've backwashed since opening the pool. So we're still getting quite a bit of debris and everything from the winter time, even though we had it all shut in. Now that's looking good. If you can appreciate it, but that's pretty much transparent at that point. The water there is nice and clean. So we're gonna go ahead and shut this thing down. And now we're gonna switch our multi-function valve to rinse. Maybe. It's easier to do when you got two hands. Oh, there we go. All right, now we're on rinse. And we can turn everything back on. See, we're nice and clear here. Really no haze or anything. But we're going to go ahead and give it a minute and a half or so. Looking here, the water's clear. That thing's crystal clear now. Give it another 15 seconds here. And then we'll shut it off one more time and switch it to circulate or filter. You got to make sure your pump's off and fully, stopped before you change the position of your valve, or else you could really damage some stuff. So again, nice and clear, and let's go ahead and shut it down one more time. And the pump is stopped, and we'll switch to filter and fire it up again. All right, so we're back into normal filtration mode. Everything's circulating through the filter, and I'm going to go ahead, before I started the video, I turned the heater down so that it wouldn't turn on while we were working. This is a pretty slick setup. I really like the diagnostic menu because you can very quickly find out what's going on. See, the chlorinator is off. There's a delay when you restart it, so in 17 seconds it'll kick back on. Instant salt chlorinator off. Flow switch, that's what tells the system that water is flowing through it. And it's okay to run the heater and the salt cell. It tells you what the temperature is at the salt cell. Then there's a water temperature sensor, air sensor. So it's really slick. Now we can see we've got voltage to the cell, 3,200 parts per million of salt in the water. So we are making chlorine. All right, so everything's nice. And the water's nice and crystal clear coming out of our returns. Beautiful. So there you have it. Backwashing complete.